All right, everybody, we are at the top of the hour and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So thanks everybody for hopping on today. We have a great guest that has joined us to present on the UiPath certifications. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right, hopefully you can go ahead and see the presentation. So welcome everybody. This is the South Florida chapter. For those of you who don't normally attend, welcome to our South Florida chapter meeting. We try to have these on a monthly basis, usually on Tuesdays around noon Eastern time. So if you're watching this recorded, hopefully you can join us for the next one. And if you're live here with us today, welcome. The South Florida team is led by myself and Tracy Dixon. Tracy unfortunately can't join us today, but she is normally here. Diana Gray, who I'm sure many of you know, is responsible for the overall community at UiPath. And she is traveling actually, so she's not able to join us, but she is usually in attendance. And we have a new member of the team that's going to help us lead these sessions as well. We've got Andres Quesada. He is a solution engineer at Bank United. And so we're welcoming him to our South Florida leadership team. And today's guest, we have Carlos Vega. I'm going to let him introduce himself in a moment. He is a senior manager with a Goodyear company, and he is also a UiPath community MVP. So welcome to today's session on certifications, and thank you, Carlos, for joining us. I will turn it over to you so you can introduce yourself.
Nice. Thanks, Courtney, and thanks everyone for joining, especially at your lunchtime for most of us. So I truly appreciate. Let me get my screen here. Let me share the entire screen so I can kind of pop around and kind of walk you through a little bit some content. So first, a little bit about me, I guess. I didn't made a slide for that. But I've been working with RPA since 2017. And I had the privilege to be working with different companies into the RPA journey in the manufacturing and into the health space. So I've been leading, I led COEs in a couple of companies and help implement COEs in one company, and usually be managing development groups that are doing automation, and RPA is usually one aspect of those automations. So being really privileged to work with a lot of smart people, and I can share a little bit of my perspective and a bit of my experience with certifications, and hopefully that will help you with your journey on getting certified. So I prepared a couple of slides, and you see there is a lot of links, and I'll be navigating us around some of those, and we can kind of have a discussion. But I prepared a quick agenda just to get us warmed up. Really start a discussion on why is this important, right? Hopefully it is clear to all of you why certifications matter. What are all the offers or all the paths that UiPath has been preparing for the certification, and then how I get ready for it. Let's talk a little bit about the perspective also on the other side of the house. Hopefully I can share a little bit on having been build COEs and having hiring people. What do I look for? Because that helps you prepare as well to get certified. So that's the case study piece. And then how do we go about making a path for your career, having certifications as a piece of that path? What are the challenges that you might face? And let's get certified. We'll have some time for Q&A as well. So any questions that you have, we can go over. Because I'm sharing my screen, I'm not seeing the chat. So if anyone has anything, please feel free to interrupt me, and we can do it like that. Or by the end, I can also go back and look at the questions, and we can kind of see how I can help with some of those questions. Awesome. With that all said, so let's start really with the first topic, and I think I'll keep the screen like this. So it's a little bit easier to navigate. But I wanted to start by saying, hey, why is it important to look at certifications, especially in the AI and automation space, right? So I selected a little bit of really relevant and up-to-date information that hopefully can resonate with all you. So I'll start looking at the first one here around the trends around AI and automation. So you have this presentation, you have these links to take a look at after this call. So UiPath did a really good job on looking at some trends through some of the research center on, hey, where is AI and automation going? And through those trends, you're going to see a lot of focus on hey, where are we going, right? And you see that AI really got a good spin on automation because now you have the unique opportunity to reason with RPA and automation in general, right? I think that before you had that really more traditional get a process, break it down into the steps, and then try to make it agnostic so that it can automate. Well, with AI now you can make decisions as part of the process. It's so straightforward, right? So there is really a new focus around how you can leverage automation in different ways. And it has been top of mind to the C-suite, right? So all the leadership teams in every company in the world right now are looking towards where automation is going. So I'm leaving this as a reference because it's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just quick trends that you can review after the presentation around, hey, why should I be getting into that space and why now is the best time ever to study, to get good at it, and eventually to get certified if that's your desire. The second spotlight that I wanna bring up is UiPath does every year what's called the State of the Automation Professional. So they interview, and I hope all of you have the chance to participate last year. And if you haven't, this year is gonna kick it up again. So every year you get this really nice report with, hey, what's the state of the automation professional? And if I just look here on the data behind the trends, right? You can see that, hey, a lot of focus goes around to education, right? And this translates really nicely to the certification. A lot of us have the RPA developer certificate. So think on when you apply to a job or when you're trying to get a promotion at your job and whatnot, you kind of understand a little bit where is everyone else at, right? That is at least half of those participants are looking to go into the certification in the next 12 months that they haven't had the chance yet. So there's a really strong focus on continuous education if you're working with automation and AI. And I think that really corresponds nicely with the collective understanding that comes from the State of the Automation Professional Report. So I think more than just looking at the certification, right, and really thinking on career progression, I think this report gives you a lot of good insights with a lot of data points that you can leverage to plan your career and really to plan how you get prepared for that next step on where you're going. So I'm just calling the spotlight, and I'll invite you all to take a look at the report. Is really rich in terms of information. Third piece that I want to also bring up on why is it important, and then why UiPath is around the RPA Magic Quadrant for Gartner. So Gartner is a research company that does an amazing job on identifying different technologies in different areas and evaluating each one of the players, each one of the companies, and then kind of ranking them in ability to execute and completeness of vision, right? So how are those companies able to help customers? And that really translates when you're looking at certifications on how easy it would be for me to work with that technology, to find companies working with that technology and to be successful in my career. So UiPath has been a leader for the 50th year in a row and a leader in both ability to execute and completeness of vision. It's always on the top. So UiPath has been doing an excellent job with their offers to make sure that they're offering the best in class solution. Now, I'm only showing here the one for RPA, but UiPath is in many other quadrants, right? In intelligent document processing, also a leader. In testing, also a leader. So there are different offers that UiPath puts in the market. And usually when you look at the Gartner or any analyst review, UiPath is really well positioned. So that helps answer a little bit why would you choose UiPath instead of other. Not saying that you have to choose. Maybe you want a broader understanding and want to get certified in multiple players. That's totally fine. But really, you should start with UiPath, and I think you should progress the UiPath path because it is the market leader. It is a really strong technology, wide adopted to pretty much across the field on solutions that they offer for the enterprise. So it's really important, and they really show your expertise and your dedication to self-improvement. And I think we're seeing that through several angles. The last link here, if you need any more convincing, is other than Gartner, what are others saying? And then you have Everest Forrester and the IDC as other, again, research institutes that are giving very similar graphs as the Magic Quadrant that Gartner is famous for, positioning UiPath on the highest level. So I'm leaving that link here, and I'll invite you to take a look. And as I mentioned, you can see here's around IDP, and you'll find around document processing, RPA, and everything else that is involved into the automation AI space. So if you're thinking about, I want to dedicate time, right? And time is probably the most precious thing you have to get certified. You want to make sure that you're going on the right technology, right? And I think the data, if you just make a data-driven decision around where should I take my career, right? I truly believe that my path is in excellent position to offer you the opportunities in your career, the fun that comes with getting good at a technology and developing meaningful solutions. And I think that is echoed by pretty much everyone in the ecosystem around automation and AI. So hopefully by now it's starting to make sense, right? You see the value in getting certified. So what are my options, right? So what can I look to in terms of certification, right? So you can kind of make an informed decision on which path you choose and then how you go through that path to get certified. And this graph from the official website, I think, shows that really nice. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so hopefully you can see it better. Your path certification program has, let's say, two levels based on the moment that you are in your career. And it starts with the associate level, which is really how do I get that information, the basic concepts, and get really good about understanding all the terms, right, and all the technologies that qualify for my career. And then you have the professional level is okay, I'm already working on that space, I have some experience, I want to get really good at a given niche. And then you kind of jump to that professional space. And then it also shows here that you have a couple different roles across the enterprise. So starting from business analysts, going through the development space, going to the architecture space, and covering also the QI area of the test automation. So no matter where you are into that landscape, you can see that there is a certification path that you can follow that will get you where you want to be. So let's quickly go through each one of these just on a high level. In the next slide, I'm going to deep dive into one of them to kind of show what that means, right? So on the business analyst piece, really is really everyone that is working on understanding the business cases and how technology can fulfill the business case and how do I map a given process so that I can then send that over to a developer for the automation creation, right? So a business analyst sometimes is also referred as a project manager in some context, but it's someone that's really working close with the business and with the technology team to understand what are the opportunities? Is this a good use case? Is maybe not so much? Do I have to re-engineer that process a little bit, right? Because you don't want to automate a bad process. You want to make sure that the process is really lean so that you can automate it and be successful. And a lot of that magic happens at that space of the house. Now, that's not to say that developers don't use that hat from time to time as well. If anything, experience has shown me that several times those hats, right, on the how this is boxed out, it might be the same person, right? I definitely have been in situations where you have your BA hat, and then you talk to the business, then you put your developer hat, your tech hat, and go from there. So but I think the business analyst has really that really strong business relationship and continuous improvement and project management type of skill set that they want to get really good at, and that certification path will really make sure that you have a really strong foundation, and also that you understand all the technologies available to you to help the business get what they need in a level that you can really have meaningful conversations with the business and say, hey, maybe if you adjust your process here and here, you can leverage this technology that will make your process much better and easier to automate and things like that. So this path is extremely broad in how it goes. On the developer side, we start with the associate certification for development. And then again, that is kind of the foundational body of knowledge that you need to have to develop good automations, right? And because it's foundational, then you see on top here on the professional level that you have then two specializations, right? One in really that more advanced developer and one more focused into the AI space, depending on the opportunities that you're looking at. So the automation developer associate gets you into really strong understanding on how to create a really robust automation using UiPath's framework that is, again, built for volume, built for resiliency, making sure that your automation always runs, never fails. If it fails, that it can handle that failure, and that you understand all the different components on the solution that allows you to work into that space. So you understand a project, you understand queues, you understand pretty much anything that a developer might need to build that application, that automation. Jumping here a little bit for the automation professional developer, it just focuses a little bit more into those most advanced cases, same as the specialized AI focus on how do I leverage AI into different things. So UiPath has been investing a lot of time and energy in releasing AI products. That's why they're the leader into things like intelligent document processing, right? So if I need to create an automation that is processing documents from different sources, it could be PDFs, could be emails with communications binding, it could be pretty much anything that you want to apply AI to get information and make informed decisions and then automate the process. So that certification kind of gives you a really good understanding and background on the different products that you can use. So when you're picking the solutions to build your automation, you have a really nice understanding on what's available to you. If I go now a little bit further to the architectural piece, then you also get an additional view on the infrastructure behind supporting all that, right? So you hear things like orchestrator, you hear things like all the services that are available, all the APIs that are available, and really how do you connect the whole automation suite together to build a solution and to maintain that solution. So that's where a lot of the solution architect focus comes in and allows you to really have that really strong foundation, not only on the development, you get all that, but also beyond development, how do I maintain my environment and how do I make sure that is optimized to deliver the best value that my developers need, and how can I kind of help or drive some of the decisions around the technology. Right? Think about when I think about an architect building a house, I'm kind of leaning on their expertise to tell me what's the best path to go about that. And I think when you look at the technology, is the same thing. It's someone that can really drive a lot of the decision making process around the automation landscape from a technology perspective, and keep that all alive and well oiled. And the last one is around test automation. So if you work with QA, that's where you want to go. Test automation is one of the coolest products that UiPath have. And well, if I can automate a process with the traditional RPA, I can also automate regression tests, like testing an application to see if it's working well or not. Or I can also test my automations, right? So you can have that into the context of just the RPA COE, or you have expand that to the context of I want to test my ERP. So when there's an upgrade, I can make sure that nothing broke, right? That any custom code that I included there, if you're using SAP as an example, a new release might change behavior of things and might break the functionality for your users. So the test automation suite is fantastic, and that certification kind of gets you ready to use the heat maps to make sure that you know what to test first, and what's the most used things, and how to use your test manager, how to develop test cases, what is test-driven development means, and what's the naming conventions, and all that. So really cool career path as well for those that are into the QA space, kind of closing the cycle from business analysts really identifying solutions, developing, architecting, and then validating that everything that is being done has high quality, because you have the QA space doing testing with that. So those are all the available certifications right now. I will always remind you to keep an eye on the official website. They're always releasing some new certifications as the demand from the market comes in, as new products are developed. So this list is always growing and changing. So it is a good amount of paths that you can follow with UiPath.
Carlos,
So,
we do have a couple of questions. Do
all
you mind
right,
if?
yes,
Okay, sure.
absolutely. Let's jump to those.
So we've got, yeah, so one of them, and I don't know if you can answer it or not. One of the questions was specific to the automation developer professional exam. I don't know if I have not taken that one. I don't know if that's one that you've taken.
Yes.
Okay. So that question specifically was, how is the difficulty level of the exam compared to the practice tests?
Okay, that's good. So I want to say you need definitely, and maybe I'll jump to the next slide here and go to the blueprint. There
Great.
is a little bit of expectation that you have some experience, right? Some hands-on experience. So as a high level recommendation, and I think looking at the minimal qualified candidate, right? So really, what are we looking to in each one of the blueprints? So I'm using one of the blueprints, but they all follow exactly the same focus. It's a, hey, who is my audience? What qualifies you to do that? And that is extremely useful, because it's going to tell you how much experience time you need, how much hands-on you have, and for how long have you been studying. So you can see in this example here, it says, hey, you either are really doing a lot of training, or you're working on a college, or you're studying on a college that has that within your curriculum through the academic alliance, or things like that, or you have hands-on experience working with that for about 6 months to be ready to go, right? So I think the MQC helps you answer that question for each one of the certification paths in a way that you feel better about when to take. Now the question is really, I'm doing the training. I went to academy and I did the mock tests that UiPath offers, right? So they have those quick mock tests, 20 plus questions that kind of lets you know where you are. My suggestion is go to the mock test, and if you got almost everything right, and the things that you got wrong, you understand why you got it wrong. Because the problem with mock tests is they don't change that much, and then okay, this was wrong, and then you go on the solution, and then you know the right solution. But if you don't understand the why, if there's anything that as you go into that exercise you really don't understand why, go back to academy, to the forum and try to understand the why. Once you understand all the whys and you can do most of the questions correctly on the mock test, you're ready to go. The certification is really not tricky in a way that will try to drive you to wrong answers, right? But it definitely is. It expects that you have some experience. There are some concepts that can be misleading just by the concept itself, and that can be tricky. But all in all, I want to say that it's really well maintained. The questions, they all make sense. There's nothing. Oh, I would never see that in real life or anything like that. And starting from the blueprint is definitely, in my head, the easiest way to get prepared in a way that you feel, hey, I'm ready to go, right? I am qualified. And I'm sorry, I think you mentioned another question. Let me make sure that
Yeah, so I think,
understood.
and I know, Paul, you've got some feedback that you've been putting in the chat about some of the alignment of the testing. I don't know if I can see her on camera, so I don't know if you just want to go ahead and ask it.
Yes.
And also, just to clarify, that Carlos and I are not part of UiPath, right? So I know some of your questions are like, when will it be updated? And so we can't necessarily answer when the exams will be updated with some of the newer material. I know that was also a question that Syed had as well.
No, I'm sorry, because you both show up in the participants thing under staff.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, that's definitely a bevy thing, so that's a bit misleading.
I guess that just means like
yeah, understood.
This thing. Okay, so yes, yeah, a lot of my stuff. Because so I went to Forward and took the associate, passed it, no problem. And then I took the next one up, the advanced. Can't remember what they call it now, and I did not pass, but just barely. I mean, I think it was like 1 or 2 questions. And, one of the big issues for me and what I would recommend for anybody that's intent, I just decided I don't care about passing it. One of the big things I would give as advice to somebody that is intent on passing it and needs to pass it is you got to know RE framework inside and out. I don't agree with that being on the exam, but it's on the exam. It's a heavy part of the exam. There's also lots of operations questions, like doing things in Orchestrator and setting up robots and all this kind of stuff that, my personal opinion is they don't belong on a developer exam, but they're there. And so I would say rely on the practice exam. The practice exams seem to be pretty well aligned with the actual exams. So I would say focus on those exams for what for figuring out what you need to learn to pass the real exam. Boy, there's a document that I had. Ooh, I'll have to see it. I don't know if I can find it again. I don't know where I put it. There's a document that somebody had shared with me on the forums, and it showed a ton of detail about the exams and like what was on them and like what topics to learn.
Yeah, maybe I'm showing the blueprint here, and thank you, Paul. Thank you for your.
Oh, that might be it. Yeah, that blueprint document. Yeah, that sounds
yes.
right. Yeah.
So the blueprint document really tells you, hey, what is this exam covering with a good level of detail. So I usually say you start from the blueprint to kind of get a good idea on what they're looking for, right? And this helps you get a little bit of that understanding on what's going to be asked, what are all the topics and whatnot. So they have blueprints for each one of the certification paths, and they will describe all the topics on how that go. And I will just to add some color to that. They cover a lot of topics, right? So some stuff might be a little bit less relevant to you depending on what your role into your job is, or in the moment you're in a career. So I do get that from time to time from folks saying, yeah, they ask some stuff here that I'll never have to use because let's say I'm a developer and developers are not in orchestrators in some companies. In other companies they are, and I think they go a little bit on the okay, let's find the middle ground and to have questions to cover both, and it might be a little bit different than your actual experience, but they will have that defined on the blueprint. Oh, hey, these are a little bit of what the exam should be covered. But thank you, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
To address Saeed's question about the difficulty level, I found them to be very similar. The practice exam and the actual exams felt very similar to me. Similar type of questions, similar formatting of the questions, similar wording. So I think the practice exams and then this document here are both good ways to understand, what you need to know to prepare. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Thanks, Paul. And I know, Paul, to your other comment as well in the chat about there's things on the exams that don't necessarily align all that well, or academy and the exams aren't lining up. That's definitely something that that they've heard that feedback. I know when they're asking for feedback on the exams that they've heard that already. So hopefully that's something that they're incorporating as they update them.
Yep, absolutely. So a couple things here to kind of deep dive into that, right? So start from the blueprint, take a look at that, understand all the topics. I'm a paper person. I have to print stuff, and I when I was preparing, and I have the BA, the professional developer, and the associate developer. Those are the three that I did last year, and I thought them were consistent. I think like what Paul mentioned, right? The experience through the test is very similar. The types of questions and whatnot, the how deep they go changes, right, a little bit. But all in all, it's a very consistent experience through the interface and all that. The blueprint is where you start, in my mind, understanding what's gonna be, and then based on the blueprint, you go to the academy. So that's why I kind of list the academy and the forum here. The academy then has learning paths for folks to get certified. You choose a certification. Hey, these are all the trainings that we bundle together that covers what's in the blueprint to get you prepared as much as possible. And I think there was a question talking about the versions and how often they update the versions and whatnot. When you go through the blueprint, it will tell you a little bit as well on the versions of products that are being asked in this example. And you can see that it's a little bit outdated, right? The technology really changes fast. Usually this is matching a little bit of the content into academy that is broadly available through those paths. And I haven't seen much other than I think there's a call out that's important here. Exam questions are based on modern design experience. Depending on how long you're working with RPA, this is new. I mean, it's been around for a while, but not all the companies adopted that yet. So this might be a big change. But all in all, just version changes and whatnot. No questions will be specific enough that this behavior changed on this version and they're asking, and can get tricky. If it, I haven't experienced that to be honest. So I think in that perspective, the version. The tests are fairly agnostic as long as you the last 2 or 3 years using the technology, you should be fine. And then as you go to the next step, I would recommend looking at the forum. And the forum will be it's the fastest way to get answers to things that you don't understand. I forgot the numbers, but they say that questions on the forum are replied with, I don't know, under a minute or two. You start getting some feedback on most topics on average and whatnot. So the forum is a really nice way to participate, to engage with other folks with similar issues, similar questions, and get you prepared as well. So I heavily recommend spending some time on the forum, looking for questions that others had if it's the same for you. If not, put a new question there, and there is a community that is always happy to help. Once you did academy, use the forum, do some hands-on. And if you're not working directly with that technology, RPA Challenge is that website that through Academy they'll send you with several scenarios you can practice from there, and also several times they do hackathons, right? The community will do hackathons. So take a look at those as well. I think getting that hands-on experience, either by working on that area, or if you're not working on that area yet, doing challenges, hackathons, and things like that is extremely important to get you comfortable and confident to take the test. And then I call here on the time management. I want to go back to the blueprint. By the bottom of every blueprint, they will have these details here that tells you, hey, how long does it take? What's the maximum allotted time for me to take that test, and how many questions you might have, and things like that. So it kind of gets you an idea on the duration. I felt on the times I did those that time management was not a big deal. A native English speaker, but I thought it was easy enough to understand the more technical terms and whatnot because you prepared for academy and all that. So I felt it was enough time to do everything and to review everything that I had marked for review, and not have to worry about, ooh, I ran out of time. It's usually enough. You have enough questions that are no-brainers that you can allocate more time to the ones that those that are tricky and you have to think a little bit more. But time management is always something to keep fresh on your mind as you're taking tests, in my mind. The other piece here to kind of piece that all together, vouchers. From time to time, and I think I linked one of the discussions here just to use as an example, they will say, hey, there are some vouchers available that if you participate on the forum, you can get some of those vouchers, things like that. You see there are campaigns that they go from time to time that also distribute some vouchers. So it's really kind of all around, but there are moments throughout the year that I've seen they distributing vouchers. Again, as Courtney mentioned, we don't work for UiPath and whatnot, but I've definitely seen that enough times that I think it is something to keep in mind as you're preparing. If nothing urgent, and keep participating in the forum, you see some opportunities to maybe get a voucher for that exam. And then on the day of the exam, I think some things that always help me, right? Embrace that you're going to be nervous, right? Embrace that you are going to be in a situation that gets the stress a little bit high, right? I think it is important that I think some folks say, oh, I'm nervous, so it's going to hurt me. Well, you always be nervous. Everyone gets nervous, and embrace that a little bit. I think in my experience, that has been good. Yes, it's all right. It's normal to be a little bit nervous, to kind of get you past, I draw a blank in a given question. I know I studied it and whatnot. I think being comfortable with being a little bit nervous is important. It helps me a lot. The other thing that I mentioned is usually on exam day, before the exam, I I personally try not to look at any materials for that day. I try to do my exams in the afternoon, just personal preference, and through the morning, yes, I try not to go too crazy into looking unless there's some tests, and I don't think UiPath is the case, but some tests has some memorization that you might require. So maybe in those cases, if there's something that you really think is gonna go into the test, other than that, I try to distantiate a little bit on that day. I think it helps me. So just sharing as a potential tip for you. Let me hop to the next slide here and talking a little bit about now why is the certification important? How can it help you from a hiring manager perspective, right? So a couple things just to mention on a high level, right? If I have 5 candidates to a position and I have a couple that are very close, they did really well in the interviews and whatnot, the certification kind of makes me see a couple things, right? It makes me see the commitment to that professional development. I think this is important. Someone that is going after the certifications might be someone that is always trying to learn. Not saying that that's the only piece, because again, certification is not the only form of professional development, but it's definitely a risk control, right? Okay, that person got certified, so it helps limit a little bit of the risk as a hiring manager, right? It helps you benchmark the candidates if you have too big of a pool as well. I've never been in a situation where I say I only accept certificate professionals. I think that would be terrible. I value a lot of experience, so I think that's when those things become a little bit more blurry, right? If you have experience, you might not need the certification depending on the moment you're on a career. Now, as a manager, does it reduce the risk? Oh, absolutely, right? It makes you feel a little bit cozier when you're extending an offer and investing time into bringing someone on your team. The other piece that I highlighted here is around job descriptions, and I think I just linked a search through LinkedIn that I did earlier this week uh, about UiPath certified, and you see that lots of those positions they kind of recommend, or they say, hey, that might be a requirement of being certified in a given technology, or is a desired thing. So I like to say that looking at job descriptions gives you an idea on how sought after a given certification is. And I think the UiPath one is reference enough that is worth getting certified if you're looking for a job or for ascension in your career in the company you're working. Um, I think is good. The other piece that I personally do, and I know other companies will do as well in general, is a knowledge matrix just to see. And I think they just got an example here from Google where you might have, and this is not related to RPA, but it's basically saying, hey, if there are different technologies that I use on my team, and I'm hiring someone like John Smith is a new person that I'm looking to, when I'm writing that job description, I'm kind of looking at all the things that you need. So you could have things here like reframework, queues, or test automation, or intelligent document processing, document understanding, and things like that. That help folks make decisions on what are the strong suits of candidates so that I can bring and fill gaps on my team. So several companies will use something like that, a framework like that. This is just one framework to understand what am I looking for as I'm doing interviews, right? And the certificates, again, kind of help you make a decision on those frameworks. You have to say, hey, the different colors here, they mean how well versed someone is on a given technology. So someone that's certified will definitely be on a higher color level. Usually, if you don't have enough experience with the person, just for an interview, which is an hour, to make a really quick decision, I think it helps to make that decision with a little bit more comfort. So just want to share some perspective from a hiring manager on things that usually having the certification helps. Not saying that is, again, I'll never hire someone just because of certification, but I think it helps manage a little bit of that. And really, the last two slides are really just a quick suggestion, right? Tie the certifications to your career path. So add certifications based on what you are seeing in terms of positions that you want to apply. Make sure that you tie those back to your resume, to your LinkedIn, and use those as opportunities to network. Let's say if you're going to a training or if you're in the forum and having conversation with folks, make sure that you build your network around those programs so that it helps you grow your career path in that direction. And at the same time, as you're going through some of those challenges, right? Use that network to help you find resources, find the support, and minimize a little bit of that anxiety that you may have on taking tests. So I think these two slides were just a quick call out around things that you might do and how to build that so that the certification is not something that's not tied to a strategy. Think on certification as a strategy to look for a promotion, to maybe apply for a new position, to maybe switch areas, build that strategy and make the certification an important step of that strategy. And I think network as much as possible, and that all kind of ties together that experience that you need to be successful on your certification path. So I want to open the Q&A and maybe go back to the questions and see if there's anything else I can chat. And I do have to stop in 5 minutes, so I wanted to make sure that I have time to go to some of the questions. So maybe I'll stop sharing so the screen is not so weird for all of you, and maybe we can have a conversation into anything else that might be interesting for you.
Yeah, and please feel free as well if you want to drop it in the chat or unmute. And I'll just piggyback off of something that Carlos just said, as far as, getting your certification. And he talked a bit about, it's something that can be sought after by hiring managers, but also for those of you that are currently, employed at an organization. I've seen organizations where they'll say, if you pass your test, they'll be happy to reimburse you for the voucher to take the test, because it's obviously a benefit to their organization as a whole for individuals to get their certifications, especially if it's something that applies to the role that you're in. So that's another possibility as well, is approach your manager and ask if you could potentially take the test and get certified or reimbursed for the cost of the test, because I've seen plenty of organizations that are willing to do that, because it just benefits everybody.
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, that's extremely valuable. Again, it just shows the importance of certifications, right? A lot of companies will sponsor you to that journey, not only with the cost of the certification, but also with time, right? I think in my own team, if someone says, hey, I'm going to get prepared for the certification, it's like, okay, now I'm going to align your workload to get a couple hours a week here to be successful into that, right? I think, again, it's part of your career more than just the certification. It is showing your interest, your continuous growth, and of course the voucher sponsoring you to take that test is part of that. So thank you, that's fantastic.
Yeah, another great point, because a lot of companies will let you have the time to do some of your studying during the week. So although it takes usually a lot more than that to actually get your studying in, but at least companies are willing to invest in that from both a time and money perspective. So that's an excellent point as well. Well, if there are no more questions, the one question that we did have, which was kind of behind the scenes, but we will be sending out the presentation, and it's got lots of links in there. So Carlos has put obviously lots of super helpful links to the material that he presented. So we'll be sending that out. The recording will also get distributed, so you'll have that as well. And in those slides, you'll see all of our LinkedIn profiles. So feel free to connect with us. There's always questions after the fact, so please feel free to reach out to any of us via LinkedIn. And we've got a few more upcoming events that we've got scheduled beginning in May. There's a test automation series. So for any of you who are interested in learning more about the test automation suite, there's a great series coming up that kicks off at the end of May. So be sure to check that out. That is a co-sponsored event, co-hosted event. So it's not hosted by the South Florida chapter. But as always, you're welcome to attend any of the events. And if you register and you can't attend in person, then you get a link after the fact with the recording and materials. So encourage you to attend if you can, and if not, register so that you can get the materials afterward. And with that, I know, Carlos, you need to hop off, and a few of us probably would like to eat lunch. So thank you very much for your presentation. This material has been great. I know it's been really helpful for all of those who are listening in. So thank you for that. Thank you also for the great participation from those of you who were on and participating. That always makes these sessions a lot more interesting when we can have the dialogue and your questions as well. So, and we've got one hand raised. Yeah, could you want to go ahead and unmute? I don't see anything in the chat, so.
Hey, Courtney. Thanks for the great session. So just wanted to understand, like, if you wanted to get this reference document, like I think you mentioned about, like, you'll be communicating through the email. So in case if we don't get it, like, whom should we contact?
You can reach out to me. Yeah, if you don't get it, Carlos included the links to the blueprint document that he was showing, which is a number of different documents, but those links are in the presentation. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure to get it to you.
Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. All right, everybody. Carlos, thanks again. Thank you all for
Thank you very much.
And great session. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.